Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Relationship Talks. I am your host, Lorrie Brooke, and together we will get to take a look at what goes on behind closed doors. Today, it is another solo episode, and I'm here to talk to you about difficult conversations. We all have them, so how can we have them better? Stick around and we will get into it. Welcome to this week's episode of Relationship Talks. It's really nice to have you back. And if you listen to the intro, you would hear that we were here to talk about difficult conversations this week. So how do we have them, and how do we have them without ending in World War III? So difficult conversations is what I'm talking about. But what does that actually mean? So it means the arguments, it means the fights, it means the differences of opinions, the verbal conflicts that we have, however they may look like in your relationship. Now, for some of us, when these conversations happen, we tend to shut down. We might think, oh, I don't want to be in this conversation. I don't like difficult conversations. I'm shutting down. I'm walking away. That, in a nutshell, is my daughter. The minute you try to raise something to have those difficult conversations when she might have done something wrong, or you need to show her that they're the reason why we do things a certain way, she feels like she's in trouble, so she shuts down, she walks away. Or you shut down and you go, yep, and you're just superficially saying yes and just agreeing. You're not actually listening to what's being said because it's uncomfortable. It feels uncomfortable and awkward for you. And that's okay, because that's just your pride and your ego, right? That's that protecting you, because we want to be right. We want to be safe. For some, when we're having those difficult conversations, the finger comes out. You know, I'm right. I told you this before. This is why we do it. And you become that teacher. Do it my way. I told you so. For others, it could be blame. If you hadn't have done that, then this wouldn't have happened. I told you not to do it this way. Why did you do it that way? We always do it this way. And it's that constant, or not constant, but it's that inference of you did the wrong thing, which is why we've ended up in this situation. And then there's another good one, which is point scoring. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone when they've brought up, well, in the past you did this, so now I want to do it. Or last weekend you went out, so I want to go out this weekend. And it's that tit for tat scenario. Or I do all of this around the house. You don't do anything. Or I go to work, you just stay at home. It's those types of conversations, or that type of, I suppose, point scoring, tally keeping that we're talking about. So when we have a difficult conversation, when we know that there's something actually bugging us, how do we raise it? And that's a really good time to stop and think about your current situation in your relationship, and to think about when there has been an issue in the past. Have you taken the time to raise it when everyone's, in a good frame of mind to actually talk about it? Or is it something that kind of gets raised because something happens and bam, the issue's there? It's out in the open. And that latter scenario is generally what happens for most people. Because whilst we're aware that the issue is there, whilst we're aware that there's a problem, we also don't want to raise it, because we don't want to be that person to raise an issue, create a drama, because we don't want to make matters worse. And so we try and sweep it under the carpet, pretend it doesn't exist, tell ourselves that, oh no, it's only me. I'm just having a bad day. Let it go. And it doesn't work, right? And then next thing, bam, we've exploded. And we reverted to however it is that we tend to have those difficult conversations. And it becomes unhealthy, and it can become a repetitive cycle. So what I want to talk to you about today is, how do we break free of all of that? How can we actually change it all up to make sure that these conversations are being had, but being had well. So let's talk about what it looks like to do it well. So when we're doing this well, we're going to be sitting down together. We're going to be in a good frame of mind. Neither of us are going to be triggered by a recent event. We're both going to be level-headed, and we're both going to be looking at the issue objectively to actually see what the problem is and then come up with a solution. Now, that may sound fanciful and that may sound unrealistic, but let me tell you, it actually works. Because all of a sudden, we've taken all of the emotion out of it. We've taken all of the ego and the pride in being right in a position by that instant explosion out of the equation. We are here ready to address the issue. How you do this, though, is by actually saying, hey, I've got an issue I want to talk about. Is it okay if we sit down after dinner? Is it okay if we sit down over a coffee tomorrow? Is it okay on your next day off if we go out and actually talk about this? It doesn't have to be something that gets done there and then, right? Because what we don't want is either one of you to feel ambushed, which is often what happens when we have those instant explosions. All of a sudden, someone blows up, it's on. For hell or high water, you're both going at it. But you don't want that. You want there to be a reasonable and a level-headed conversation. And so to do that, you kind of got to go, well, hey, let's tee up a time to have this chat. You're putting on the table what it is about. So whether it's, I want to talk to you about the finances. I want to talk to you about your parents. I want to talk to you about, I don't know, what the kids have got on next week. We're having a reasonable conversation. We know what it's about. And when we have that conversation, we stick to that one issue and that one issue alone. We don't go outside of those boundaries. We respect those boundaries because we respect the other person. We respect our relationship, and we respect the need that everyone needs to have the ability to think about what the topic is before we raise it. It is very, very easy to start going off on tangents when you're having these difficult conversations. But it's also important that you both respect what you were there to talk about and go, no, we're here to talk about this. We will talk about that on another occasion. Because when you can put those boundaries in place from the get-go, it will become easier as time goes on to hold those boundaries. And you'll both go, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to talk about that. I'll raise that another day. One of the things that having conversations like this and having it planned out gives both of you is the opportunity to actually work out in your own mind what the issue is for you. Because often in the heat of the moment when we blow up, we might think it's about the way that the person stacked the dishwasher. We might think it's the way about how many times we had to ask someone to take out the rubbish, or not putting clothes in the dirty clothes basket, or not shutting the fridge door, whatever the case may be. We might think it's about that little thing, but it's often something else that's underneath it. So it's, it could be that I don't feel appreciated. I'm not getting enough help around the house, or I'd like you to spend more time with the kids, or I'd like us to spend more time together, or I'd like to be included in on what's going on with the finances. It's those underlying issues that often get masked by that incident that happened. But when we talk about the incident, like, fine, I won't stack the dishwasher, or I won't do that again. It doesn't actually solve anything. It's like such a superficial argument to be having when it's not actually solving the argument underneath. And so it gives you that ability to actually stop and think about what is it? Why am I getting upset about the dishwasher or the clothes or the fridge or whatever the case is? What is it that I actually need or want out of all of this? So remember those tips when it comes to having a difficult conversation. Set a meeting, tell each other what you want to talk about, stick to that one issue and that one issue only. And do it when you're both feeling good. Don't do it when either of you are tired or someone's had a bad day at work or the kids have been playing up or the kids are around. Don't do it then. Do it when you've got time to actually be adults and have conversations and really nut issues and solutions out. And you'll find that things go a whole lot more smoother for you. Anyway, I hope that's been helpful. Remember, the choice is yours. Make today and every day the very best it can be. And I will see you next time for another episode of Relationship Talks. Bye for now.
And thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Relationship Talks. If you can, I would love for you to jump on and leave a review. And whilst you are at it, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please join me again next week when we get to take a look behind closed doors at someone else's relationship. But until then, I am your host, Laurie Brooke, and remember the choice is yours, so make today and the week the very best it can be.